came all the way out just to meet with her. And when he finally sat down, he began with, "I wanted to come here and say, I'm sorry, that's it. No real accountability. No details. Just, I apologize for being angry. No one deserved that, and honestly, that's not a real apology. A real apology sounds like, I know the words I used hurt you. I know what I did was wrong. Here's how I'm going to change," but that's not Kody. What we get instead is, "I'm sorry I was angry," which isn't even a full apology. Hey besties, welcome back. Kody Brown's apology tour has begun, and if you're worried he's going to manipulate Janelle, well, her reaction tells you everything. Because even though he didn't admit what he actually did to her, Janelle reacts like she just witnessed a miracle. She literally says she didn't recognize the man he had become. That the person she watched melting down publicly was not the husband she once knew. And even now, after everything, she still says she doesn't recognize that version of him. But here's the wild part, he barely said anything. And yet she's emotional and grateful, as if his bare minimum apology suddenly erased years of hurt. This is what happens when someone has been starved of basic decency for so long. The tiniest crumb feels like a feast. Then she starts talking about how she mourned the loss of the ideal family, the dream they all bought into when the family started. The vision that all the kids would grow up together. A big united household, except that's not what actually happened. For 15 years we watched fights, jealousy, and division. 5 of his children don't even see themselves as siblings to Robyn's kids. So what ideal family is she remembering? Then she starts blaming herself, saying she focused too much on the family and not enough on her marriage. And this is where it hurts. Because if she had gone to Kody needing anything, a house, support for the kids, help during COVID, he didn't care. He dismissed her kids. He abandoned her needs. He emotionally checked out years ago. Yet somehow she's taking responsibility. This is classic behavior in long-term, unhealthy relationships when someone has been neglected and gaslight. They start thinking it was their fault. And Kody knows exactly who he can manipulate. Janelle is the one he has left the most, reconciled with the most. And who continues giving him the benefit of the doubt. He knows she has the softest heart and the lowest expectations of him. Meanwhile, in another scene, producers ask Robyn how she'd react if one of the ex-wives wanted to come back. Robyn immediately gets defensive, laughing nervously, shaking her head, touching her face, fidgeting, all classic signs she's hiding her real feelings. She says she can't even talk about the idea that hope is dangerous, and threatens to walk off set if producers keep pushing. Hope dangerous? To her, yes, because hope means competition. Hope means sharing again. Hope means the old dynamics returning and exposing everything she's worked to keep to herself. Let's be real, Robyn doesn't want anyone coming back. She never has. She has never reached out to Janelle. She avoids Christine. She doesn't even greet Janelle at Coyote Pass. She wants Kody all to herself, without the messy plural marriage dynamic she pretends to value. And she knows that if she admitted that out loud, viewers and the family would see the truth. She's glad everyone else left. Back to Kody and Janelle, the editors cut to them smiling at each other, as if there's hope of romance. That's editing, not reality. Janelle is building a house in North Carolina. She isn't reconciling. But Kody knows exactly why he went to her first. She gives him the reaction he wants. The soft landing. The emotional opening. And Robyn, as soon as producers bring up the possibility of a wife returning, she practically panics and shuts down the interview. She claims she'd fall apart. She claims she can't handle hope. But the truth? She just doesn't want competition. She doesn't want to share resources. She doesn't want to share Kody. She doesn't want the family structure she claims to miss. She just doesn't want anyone back. And that's the reality behind this so-called apology tour. Kody wants emotional access, where he knows he can get it. Robyn wants the topic buried. And none of the ex-wives are actually coming back, no matter what storyline TLC tries to push. He flew all the way out just to sit across from her. And when he finally opened his mouth, his so-called apology began with the most hollow line possible. "I wanted to come and say, I apologize, that was it." No explanation, no accountability, no acknowledgement of what he actually did to her. Just, "I'm sorry I was angry." No one deserved that, and let's be honest, this isn't an apology. It's a deflection. A soft, vague statement meant to sound deep while avoiding the truth. A real apology is, "I know I hurt you. I know what I did. I take responsibility. Here's how I will change." Kody didn't do any of that. Hey besties, welcome back to the channel. Kody Brown's apology tour has officially begun. And if you're worried he's trying to pull Janelle back into his emotional orbit, her reaction might confirm it. Because even though he gave her almost nothing, no details, no depth, No real remorse. She reacts as if she just heard something powerful. She says she didn't even recognize the man he had become. That the version of Kody ranting publicly wasn't the husband she once knew. And yet, despite the emptiness of his words, she's still emotional, still grateful, still responding like he opened up his soul. But that's what happens when someone has been deprived of basic decency for so long. Even the smallest crumb feels huge. After that shallow apology, the conversation shifts, and Janelle starts opening up in a way that honestly feels heartbreaking. She tells him she didn't know who he was anymore, that the man she watched speaking publicly angry, cruel, defensive didn't match the husband she remembered for decades. Kody agrees, saying he doesn't even recognize himself now, that he lives a completely different life. And then Janelle goes somewhere unexpected. She starts talking about how she mourned the loss of the ideal they had built as a family, the dream of raising all their kids together, the unity they were promised, the life they were supposed to create. She doesn't talk about mourning him. She mourns the dream. She says she was grateful the kids still acted like siblings, even though the truth is, that's not even fully accurate. There are children who were never raised together. There are kids who don't share that bond. The family had fractures long before the public breakup. But this is what Janelle does. She rewrites history in her mind, just enough to make the pain feel manageable. She holds onto the fantasy so she doesn't have to accept how deeply she was neglected. And then comes the saddest part. She starts blaming herself. She wonders if she focused too much on the family and not enough on her relationship with Kody. She wonders if losing sight of their marriage contributed to everything falling apart. And you can almost see the psychological trap closing, and Kody says a few soft words. And suddenly years of neglect and emotional abandonment become maybe I should have tried harder. But the truth? When she needed a house, he didn't care. When she wanted to build on Coyote Pass, he didn't care. When her kids were kicked out and struggling during COVID, he didn't care. He turned his back on her over and over, but now she's questioning if she was the problem. This is the cycle. This is how manipulation works. Just a small gesture from him and she starts carrying the weight again. And that's what makes this moment so painful to watch, because he didn't have to say much. The bare minimum was enough to crack open old wounds she thought she had healed. As the conversation continues, something becomes even clearer. Janelle has spent years convincing herself that the ideal family mattered more than her own emotional needs. She admits she thought more about the family than about her relationship with Kody. And while she's speaking, you can almost see her trying to make sense of years of chaos, trying to find a reason. Any reason that doesn't involve acknowledging how deeply Kody failed her. But the truth is right there between every line she says. She talks about the dream they all bought into, the utopia they were promised, the unity they thought they would create together. It's almost like she's still holding onto a version of the story that never existed. Because the reality we all watched was very different. Constant tension, battles over kids, unequal treatment, and a husband who only showed up when it benefited him. Yet here she is, wrestling with this idea that maybe she focused too much on the family. Maybe she didn't put enough into the marriage. Maybe she overlooked their personal relationship. That's what emotional conditioning looks like. That's what years of minimizing your own needs looks like. And while she's processing all this, Kody sits there, quietly benefiting from the emotional labor she's doing. He isn't taking responsibility. He isn't clarifying anything. He isn't saying, no, you didn't fail. I did. He just lets her spiral into self-blame. And then there's the history that makes this even worse. This isn't the first time Kody has apologized. He tried this at Salsa Bravo. He tried again during the Coyote Pass discussion. Every time, the apology is surface level at best. And every time it happens only when he wants something. But Janelle's pattern is predictable. She hears the smallest kindness, and she opens the door just a little. She sees the tiniest gesture and she starts remembering the good instead of the reality. She'll call him out during filming in her talking head, but never directly to his face. Christine's memories still echo like they happened yesterday. She can recall every sharp moment, every comment that cut deeper than anyone realized. What she didn't know then was how many other people were watching the same cracks form, people who saw the shift in Kody long before she ever walked away. One of those people was Robyn's ex-husband, David Jessup. Their past was something the Brown family rarely addressed, but his perspective had always been lingering in the background. His silence, his exhaustion, the way he withdrew. Christine remembered all of it. She remembered the way he avoided conflict, how he kept his distance and refused to defend himself even when emotions ran high. At the time, she thought it was just indifference. Now, years later, she wondered if it was survival. Christine had gone to counseling before, hoping anyone would help her make sense of the emotional knot she lived in. But every time Kody walked into a session, the energy shifted. He made everything about his frustrations, his sacrifices, his unmet expectations. Robyn would back him with a soft voice and a practiced sadness that made Christine question her own emotions. Sitting there, trapped between the performance and the reality, Christine realized something she never said out loud. No one was ever really listening to her. Not then, not later, not until she left. When people close to the family began whispering about the cracks between Kody and Robyn, Christine was not surprised. She had seen patterns repeat themselves: control disguised as concern, guilt disguised as love, silence mistaken for peace. Every story coming out now only confirmed what she lived through for years. And as she reflected on all of it, Christine felt something she had never felt during the worst moments with Kody: clarity. She understood why certain people faded away, why others stayed quiet, why the truth took so long to reach the surface. The pieces had always been there. They just needed someone to finally put the story together. When Christine finally stepped out of that world, she didn't just leave a marriage, she walked away from a system built on silence, loyalty, and a version of reality that never matched what happened behind closed doors. But what she didn't expect was how many people would come forward once she found her voice. Friends, extended family, even former insiders quietly reached out with stories that mirrored her own. Tiny details she once brushed aside suddenly made perfect sense. Moments that felt isolated now fit into a bigger pattern, one that stretched far beyond her relationship with Kody. There were stories about how decisions were made long before family meetings ever took place. Stories about who really controlled the money, who influenced Kody's moods, and who shaped the narrative seen on camera. Christine realized that the man she once believed was overwhelmed or misunderstood was actually someone who allowed certain people to speak for him, direct him, and sometimes even manipulate him. But the biggest revelation wasn't about Kody at all. It was about how deeply she had underestimated her own strength. Walking away didn't just break her free, it exposed everything that had been hidden under the weight of plural marriage expectations. As Christine watched the current unraveling of the Brown family from a distance, she no longer felt anger. She felt relief. Relief that she made the choice others were too afraid to make. Relief that her children no longer had to live in confusion. Relief that she no longer had to fight for a place she was never going to be given. And now, as new truths come forward about the family, Christine isn't surprised. Not by the crumbling, not by the shifting alliances, not by the confessions happening years too late. She knows these moments were inevitable. Because sometimes you need someone to walk away, not to destroy the family, but to finally reveal what was real all along.